So today I'm going to talk about, obviously, about social media. Oh, this is why I can't get the thing to work. And firstly, the real question for me is, why social media? Why should we spend our time doing it? Well, I honestly believe that social media can have a huge impact on clubs and businesses. Over 2 out of 3 of the UK population are active on social media, and the average person spends 1 hour 50 minutes a day. And I suspect that recently that's probably gone up quite a lot. It's brilliant for communicating with members, building a community around your club or organisation or business, recruiting new members, gaining sponsors, advertisers. And the reason that this is really how I got involved in social media as well is that about 10 years ago now, just when Twitter was was early on and social media was quite quiet compared to how it is now, I was involved in a local village football club, and we advertised a girls try a day, try out football to girls. And bear in mind, this is a village near a large city, and we had 75 girls turn up. It was unbelievable. They were like running over the hill, and we couldn't believe it. They just kept on coming and coming. And then we also had an annual tournament, which was a great money spinner for us. And we doubled our income year on year on that. So it was making us over £2,000 a year. And for a village football club, that's a huge amount. And we were having different clubs coming from Wales and Birmingham and places like that to come. So that's why I believe that social media can be a real force for good for your club and for you. And my aim today is to give you the knowledge to use Facebook effectively and build on it, whatever your existing situation is. So firstly, can you all see that you can see the screen there? And I just wanted to show you, to start off with, really, with how to set up a Facebook page that works really well. So my first thing is that you can see this is the cover image that my mouse is on. It's really bright and cheerful, really shows what the organisation's doing, and it's eye-catching. And this is a local project in Banbury, and they work with children with special needs for after-school clubs and holiday clubs, and they're lovely, and I think they really convey that. And then I always recommend having your logo as the profile, and then here having some way of contacting, whichever's best for you, and whether that's email, telephone. But most people on your page would prefer to message you, but if that doesn't work for you, then use whatever does work for you, because people in the end probably expect to reply to a message within half an hour, so there might be a different way for you. And then down the left hand side you've got the bars. Now a lot of people don't realise that you can reorder those and delete some of them, so that if, like for Let's Play, then fundraisers, that's really important for them to do, so they've got that at the top, but you can shift those. You just go up to settings and you can move those round. And I think that's all on that page. Just have to work, I'm not very good at moving the slides. There we go. And then the about section is really important as well for 2 reasons. Basically, Facebook wants pages to have everything filled in properly, so that they know that they're a proper page and not bot, or they're not producing spam. So if you can fill everything else in, it helps for your visibility on Facebook. But also, obviously, it helps people who want to find you. And also the about I think is a key part, and you can change that. So again, it's important to have a nice image there, but also sort of, a clear idea of what you do and who you're for and how you can help people. So that's the page and the minimums for setting up a page. So Facebook doesn't actually, algorithms, they sound complicated, but really it's a long way of saying how Facebook decides who sees your posts. So as many as the amount of people that see your Facebook post can be as little as 1 to 5% of the people following or in your group. It's really low, and that's because when Facebook first set up, obviously there was hardly anybody on there, but now there's millions and millions of businesses and millions and billions of people, so they have to make sure that people stay on Facebook, because in the end that's their job, is to have keep people on Facebook so they can gather information about you and sell the advertising to you. So they want people to stay on Facebook and not move, so they want to make sure that people are seeing what they want to see, otherwise they would just go somewhere else or do something differently. So what Facebook think about when they decide whether to show a post to you, and you'll see it because people that you don't engage with very often on Facebook, you don't see their posts. They will ask, is it relevant to the person that you're showing it to, and how have people already reacted? And if people do a heart or a smiley face or a wow, or if they do likes, comments and shares on your post, then it's more likely to be seen, so they will again show it to more people as well. So it's important when you're thinking of what to post that people will actually do it. And this just explains again how it works a little bit. So basically, when we go onto Facebook, obviously we don't want to see necessarily a business post or a club or organisation post. What we want to see is what our friends and family are doing, so that they will always be prioritised over other posts. And then we want to see something recent or that's interesting at the moment, because we don't want to see a post that's like a week old. So Facebook will bear that in mind about who they shows. And then also the type of post. So Facebook will prioritise and send videos and images further. But again, if we think back to what Facebook wants to do, it doesn't want us to leave Facebook. So if you post a link into a post, it's going to be shown to less people. So these are just things to bear in mind when you're posting. It's not to say never post a link and always post video, but bear in mind, if you put a link in every post, then not many people are going to see your content. Right, so then really, I think, is when you're thinking about what to post, I would sort of, before you even start, I would think about what do you want social to achieve, and really to think about this before every post. So do you want to have more members? Do you want to just engage your existing members and keep them involved? Is it to promote events? Do you want to raise awareness of your organisation in the local area? Do you want more sponsors? Do you want people to fund you? And really often for most people it's a combination of these, but those sort of questions influence what you post, when you post, and also like your tone of voice, how you write it and what platform. And especially when you think of who you're going to be writing to, because that again influences what you post and how you say it, and also when you post it, because again we said that Facebook looks at how timing and the recency of posts. Well, if you're posting to teenagers, there's no point at posting at 9 o'clock in the morning, is there? Because they're just not going to see it. But again, if you think, say, like if your post you want to speak to mums, then actually say like 9:30 or 4 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning, or 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, when they're either on the school run possibly, or when they're getting tea and things. Actually, that's not a good time to post, and you probably would put something on later for them. So I think it is really important just to think about who you want to talk to. And a prime example of this, bless him, there's a local lad who wrote this. Well, it's actually he wrote this for me to post on a Facebook page, and it's to attract 16-year-old girls to a football club. And bless him, I mean, he was trying really hard, and he's really good with when he's talking to the girls and dealing with them. But if you look at it, like, teenage girls aren't interested in the qualifications of the coaches or where they finished last year, where they hope to finish next year, or anything. What teenage girls at 16, realistically, they want to have a good time and be with their friends. So I just changed that post into a picture, which then appeals to them. So you've got, you know, show exactly what's going on, there's action, and it tells them exactly what they need to do. So it's just thinking, again, that's an example of thinking of who you're writing to. But in fact, realistically, most people would rather see a picture with some basic information and then obviously some text in the copy than they would to read a lengthy article, because sadly people are looking at Facebook just looking for our posts. They've got lots of things to do and they want to see cats being scared by cucumbers and things like that. They're not so interested in other things. So it's really about catching their eye. And then, so when you're thinking about what to post, I would have a think about what stops you scrolling. What makes you stop and look when you're on social media? And here I've got some just examples of posts, and I've done quite a bit of research on posts, but I was going to do it on the chat box, but there's so many people, I think it'd be difficult. But in fact, do you want to just pop it, we'll try it and see if you'd like to pop in the chat box which you think is would be the most popular image for people who are looking at a page. So it's, you know, it's promoting open water swimming. Do you want to just first or second? That's really interesting. That's fascinating. I'm really interested to know, because, well, I ran this on several ways, but mainly as a Facebook advertisement, and then you can tell really quickly, and also some work I've done with Sport England and like This Girl Can, and it's the one that people really like tends to be the second one, because you've got eyes and teeth. They're not actually doing the sport, they're near the sport, and you've got two people really happy smiling, and that really works. But I'm really interested, not from a judgy way, as to people who said first, why do you think that's better? Because I'm just interested to know if anyone's happy to share. Like I say, it's not judging, I'm just really interested. I think, Ian, your comment is really interesting, isn't it? Because that was the type of shot I used to do, and because I love open water swimming. So yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And to a certain extent, I guess it depends on your page, doesn't it? But maybe try different pictures and see what one works for you, because with social media there's so much opinion, and then you'll find so many people telling you this way's right and this way's wrong, when actually there isn't. But definitely try those second shots as well. And yeah, I agree with all your comments about the first as well, but I'd go for those. So this one, next one, is in a similar vein, is this one, and again I would suggest that the second one is more appealing. Well, that's the one that most people respond to. And I think, again, what this is showing as well is that this social media account wanted to attract a wider range of people to their events. They didn't want to just attract club runners, they wanted to attract, you know, sort of new runners, people who are more recreational. And it's that thing of people like me, and you want to see people who reflect you. And quite clearly, you're more like, if you were a recreational runner, I think the first picture may put you off, but the second picture may encourage you. And also my issue, I notice it quite a lot, but especially at the moment, I really try and search for correct photographs, so that ones that are showing people distancing socially. Because I don't know about you, but even if you see people on television and they're not distancing because it wasn't recorded, it was recorded when we could actually like meet and get close to each other, it feels really strange. So I think would be something, just, it's obviously personal opinion, but I would probably have more sort of socially distant pictures, or ones that are correct at the moment. And then this one, this shows a video which I did. It's in Lumen 5, which is a really, I'll pop that in the chat box if I can get that back up, but it's a really easy way of creating a video from a set of from a blog or a written text. So you just need photos, basically. I'll see if I can pop it in the chat box. Chat box doesn't always work. Sorry, just gone. I'll just start this video again because I'm not sure where we got to. And then another thing you can post, which works really well, is to post polls. And this can be brilliant just for finding out people's opinions. So do they want a class on a Monday or a Wednesday night? Is 7 o'clock better for them, or 8 o'clock? Or even things around like the new logo. Is there a different class they'd like? Or whatever question you've got, you get really good a really good response normally for polls, because in them we all want to be involved, and everyone loves to air their opinion. So I'd really recommend, you know, using polls and just asking questions of your audience as well. And then humour, if it fits with what you're doing. I don't do humour lots on pages, but I tend to do it especially on a Friday, just because it's quite light-hearted. But we all, especially at the moment, we all need a bit of humour going on. So if it's in keeping with what you're doing, then, you know, it's not all serious on social media, and let's have some fun as well. Now, I've got a section just talking about Facebook Live as well, just because I think a lot of you are using it at the moment, or had considered using it. And I think that Facebook Lives are really good, because firstly, your followers will get notified when you start broadcasting, so they will get a message on their phone or notification if their app is open, and then it can stay on Facebook afterwards for people to catch up with it, which can be really useful again, so that if they're not there, they can still see it. If you can manage to juggle, especially, it's okay if you're having a chat, but if you're broadcasting class or an activity, I'm not sure how you would do it, but people can send you a message while they're watching. And also that most people are comfortable watching on Facebook and have the app already. And I mean realistically, Zoom people are a lot more confident, as you all are now, but Facebook is even more suitable. And also, it's not just for, say, broadcasting a class or an event or something, or whatever you're doing. It can be used to highlight something, because again, it will come into people's feeds. So it's, you know, it's worth considering, definitely. And then here's some quick tips on it. So you can the one on the left is if you're using it on desktop and you've got the live button there, and then the one on the right is, well, this is on an Android, and quite honestly Facebook's different everywhere you go, so it'll probably be different on iPhone and different on iPad, and it'll probably change tomorrow anyway. But basically just look for the little eye in the camera. And my top tips is to take the screen lock off, and I made that mistake before where I ended up filming everything the wrong way around. You can get away with a lot if your lighting and sound is right, so make sure that it's really well lit and the light isn't from behind you, but say from behind the screen. And if your sound is clear, that makes a lot of difference as well. I find that mounting your phone on a tripod is really cheap and easy. If you've got a tripod already or not, you can pick them up secondhand really, really cheaply, and then you can buy a little mount for your phone on eBay or Amazon, and it just means it's really secure. You're not balancing it. And also don't overthink it, which I'm always really guilty of, but just let it flow and, you know, make it so let it really let it flow and be authentic, really be yourself. And then this is interesting, but if you've got a paid for Zoom rather than a free account, you can actually broadcast live from Zoom to Facebook. So you could have people watching it on Zoom, but you could also have it on Facebook, which sounds really good to me. And then I'm conscious as well that you're all busy with jobs, life, and your clubs, so you haven't got time to spend ages on social media, because you've got everything else to do. Because especially if you're in a voluntary organisation, you're probably doing lots of jobs already. I know I did when I was. So I say that like some scheduling tools can help with this. But for Facebook, I would just schedule in Facebook, and you can schedule up to 30 posts a week. Sorry, 30 posts a month in advance if you could, but I tend to do it weekly. And back in the day, I used to do it when Top Gear was on, because I didn't like Top Gear and everyone else liked it. So I used to just do all my scheduling during Top Gear, and then it was done for the week. So if you've got an hour to do it, then that really helps. And I'd also recommend sharing the load. So within an organisation, you've probably got someone who can take good photos, get them to help with images, or cover different aspects of what you do between you, if that helps. And then my second tip, which makes a huge difference to me still, and I can't live without planning my content in advance, and this is what I do. So I have a calendar. I actually have one like monthly like this, but then I break it down and I write in everything that's coming up, and it just makes it so much easier, because otherwise you're sat there and you think, I've really got to post something, what can I post? Well, here and then. Or what happens is you find out today that School Sports Week started this week. Well, actually, if you'd known last week, you could have got some good content together for it. So it just makes it so much less stressful, and it just flows a lot easier. And you can pull this between a group of you. So I've just got a couple of ones as an example, and I may well sort of break this down more for some accounts, into weekly. But this just gives you, if you keep to it, it gives you a good idea of what you're going to need to be doing. And then I've just put here, this is in the other world, but it will give you an idea. So if you've got, say, an event on the 25th of November, for example, now Facebook recommend that you start promoting that 45 days in advance. So that's why I've got the event in November, but then I dial it back to start promoting the event on the 11th. Now, I would add the caveat here that that's completely changed now at the moment, because people are booking onto things. I know lots of you booked on today, and people are leaving it a lot later. And really, at the moment, I would say that you can get away with starting to promote something 2 weeks before, but at some point we're going to move back. So it's just it's really bearing in mind the advanced nature of promotions, and that at the moment you can get away with 2 weeks, but in the future, when people have got more busy lives again, then actually bear in mind that you want to do soft touch in 45 days in advance, so that people can add it into their diary and then just build up the promotion and the posting before that. And then I always like to know whether what I'm doing is working, and really that's because some posts do really badly, and you can see. And again, if we go back to the photograph, we all had different ideas of what works for a photograph, but here you can, on your analytics or on Facebook's insights, you can really see what's working and what isn't working. So we'll ignore the Instagram one for now, but on Facebook, I tend to ignore the top section here, because that's just showing you the last week's And that's really because what they want to do is you to panic that you're not doing very well this week. But in fact, like week on week can be anything. Something major can happen. The weather can be really nice unless people are on Facebook. So I would ignore that bit. They just want you to panic and pay for advertising. But what I do is I look at the most recent posts, and you can click on the little arrow here, and that will show you even more posts. And it just shows you which posts have done particularly well and what they are. So it shows, like, there's posts with links here. This is with a picture, and you can see then what posts have resonated with people the best. So you generally want to do more of those. And then the posts that haven't done so well, was that because it was an awkward time of day to do message, and it was for teenagers at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it, you know, it can be anything like that. Or was it just, it was a really hot day and a hot sunny day and people weren't in, or did something, it was just, you know, football on the telly or something. So I always like to look at insights, just so, just helps you improve your game and review what you're doing. And then I've got some good practice here. Everyone always asks me about images, and they're always conscious of not posting images of people. But I mean, obviously a lot of it depends on your national governing body, if you've had instruction on that. But the requirement is that anybody who you post an image of has to have given permission. That can be verbally, unless your governing body says more, and they need to know where it's going. So that if you just say, can I take a photo, that's actually not sufficient. You'd need to say, can I take a photo to use on our social media and on our website and on leaflets. So they have to have a clear idea of what their photograph is going to be used for. Now, strictly speaking, just verbal consent is sufficient, but you might find that you would rather have written consent, and that would be good practice. I'd also say that there's lots of resources on is it CIMPSA, the NSPCC arm that deals with children in sport, and that's a really good resource, and that's good from how to practice safe training now, and, you know, socially distant training and what's safe in the current climate, but also around images and safeguarding. So that's like my go-to resource for that. And then just the last one is just sort of keep balance of news and information on your page. And I broadly tend to divide it up. So I would say that you'd want maybe 2 or 3 general posts a week, 1 or 2 say requests, which would be just ask information or just general questions, and then say 1 or 2 out and out promotion, you know, book my class, come along to training, just because no one wants to feel like they're going to be sold to all the time, and they want a balance of it. And again, you can divide that up over the week to make it really easy for yourself. And Tuesday night is the big night for Facebook, so I put all promotional posts on a Tuesday night, and I do, for most clients, I do 1 promotional post a week, which is on a Tuesday night. That's the biggest night, so actually put your best post on that. And then Sunday night's quite quiet, Monday nights are quite quiet for some reason. It's all changed at the moment. It didn't used to be that way. I'd probably put general news on a different night, but, you know, see which are your big nights and put your important posts, or your big days, put your important posts then, but just mix it up. So this is lastly before we open for questions. Don't forget to follow Active Rother and Active Hastings on Facebook and Instagram. And I would say as well that if you could follow as many of each other as possible, because, you know, we talk back about algorithms. Well, that's the way that we can all help each other. So if you know, like, you know, several of you know each other, and if you like and comment on someone else's post, that pushes theirs up the algorithms. More people or pushes up Facebook's newsfeed. More people like to comment on it and see it, and the same if they do it to you. So it's perfect, you know, I would say engage with each other's posts as much as possible and help each other out if you can. In your email that you get afterwards, I think Kath mentioned this, but there will be like a feedback form, and it would be great if you could enter your feedback with that. And really that if you have found it useful, although we'll go on to questions in a minute, if you found it useful tonight, then we'll be looking at Instagram next week, and a link to book will be in the email as well, and it'll be similar, trying to give you the tools so that you can work on it yourself. Although Instagram's a challenge, but it's also good fun. So I'm just going to see if I can find this darn chat box again, which disappears. I think I'm going to have to stop sharing just so that I can get the chat box up. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So I said, yeah, so Heidi, you asked about polls, and I think it is broadly available. It is I haven't got any accounts where polls aren't available, but I'm open to that because they do change quite a bit as well. And I think I've got polls on every account that I do. And I think, and Heidi again said, if you want a member of that group, can you still vote? I guess, yeah. And Kath said perfectly correctly that it depends on the privacy settings of the group. You're right, Angela, you're my girl. Yes, Jazz, you see, I don't use, where's Jazz? I don't use Creator Studio at all because I found it a little bit glitchy and a bit slow. But Jazz, if you're there, are you able to come on and say, are you happy to come on and say about it?
Yeah, no worries. So I've been using Creator Studio for the past month or so. And what's useful about it is that it's got all the analytics on it as well, so you can see when the best time is to post. I currently have 2 Facebook pages on it as well as my Instagram, and you're able to cross over sort of your Facebook post with an Instagram post, and it's really easy to edit and schedule, and you can instantly, you can see, so similar to the insights that you have on Facebook, apart from the fact that you can put the insights that you have on Facebook next to the insights that you have off of Instagram, so you can sort of balance the two, so you can really see sort of what works on Instagram against what works for Facebook. So it's quite good in that way. Like I get a video on Instagram for me will be a lot better than a video on Facebook, but a picture on Facebook works better than a picture on Instagram. So yeah, and again, the scheduling and bits and pieces, I know that last weekend they had an update, which is why there was a couple of glitches, I think, over the weekend, but as far as I know, they've sorted all those out. But for scheduling and things, it's obviously with Instagram you can't necessarily schedule, I don't think, on like the phone app.
No, you have to
so
use a third-party app, don't you?
Yeah, but you can you can now get Creator Studio as an app on your phone, and they're currently, I can't remember if they've done it or they were doing it. At the time you could only use Facebook scheduling on the app, but I think now they've introduced Instagram scheduling on the app as well, and it's completely free.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to have to revisit this because it does sound really good. I've got a feeling you can upload all the images but not actually schedule them as well, can't you? So if you take some photos, you could just pop them into there ready for when you want to add them in.
You can just save them sort of within it as a draft, as it were, and then you can go back and schedule them and when you need them.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Jazz. I really appreciate that. Yeah,
that's right.
Right, I'm just going to go back up and just make sure. Anita, do you know me, Anita? Because I do Project 500, so we chat a lot. Yes, I agree. I think Twitter is a good option. I think it really depends what you want to do and how much time you've got. So personally, I love Twitter, but I've got a feeling for reaching directly to local customers and clients, then I would say that Facebook and Instagram are best. That's my thought there. Was there anything you wanted to say about it? Because I know you're really good on Twitter. Right, now someone's asked, let's see, Angela, you said about Hootsuite. I find, yeah, you see, I use Hootsuite for some Twitter accounts, and I think it is okay for that. I would just say that the reason I don't use Hootsuite for Facebook, and like I said before, there's no right or wrong, it's just that when you schedule it into Facebook, it means you can see exactly what that post is going to look like when your readers see it. Whereas if you put it into Hootsuite, you see it in like Hootsuite's version. So, and there are reports that actually it doesn't get as good as reach if you schedule something in Hootsuite to if you schedule it direct in the platform. So I think I never use Hootsuite for Facebook accounts, but that's not to say that it's not right. Just I think it's a lot easier to do it in Facebook, so I can see exactly what the post is going to look like. But if anyone's got any different things or different opinions, I'm quite happy to hear them. Oh gosh, Simon Edwards, is there a way to reach more people than just your friends? Yes, you see, I love this. This is my thing that I say on Facebook, is it's creating shareable content. If it's a page rather than a closed group, then it's having content that people will share, because then more people see it, and you'll see as time goes on what people want to share on your page, and it could be news. You have to be quite careful, because Facebook, if you ask people to share it, Facebook think, oh, that's someone a bit dodgy, we won't let many people see that post. But so it can be, I tend to put things like, can you let your friends know? So if people actually share that post onto their personal profile, or you know, the post where everybody tags a friend in the contents, that's another way. So I think it's about having it of getting more people than your friends is by having posts that people want to share on their own profile and want to engage. And also, to a certain extent, if like a whole group of your friends like a post, then other people in that friendship group are likely to see it, because Facebook think that friends tend to think similarly. So that's the basic thing, other than if you want to go down the route of advertising, but we haven't got time for all that now, because that gets a bit more complicated. Now, Ian, can you explain about starting a Facebook site? Because that's a bit of a bigger job and might be something that we need to do in a small group if there's anyone else. But Ian, do you want to tell me what stage you're at?
I've started Facebook books before, but I tend to get a bit lost. I'm still learning process. It probably, as you say, a smaller group later on to take you through the process.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I'll obviously speak to Stuart and Kath, but it might be something we can do in a small group, because yeah, it is quite a bit. And then a separate Facebook page for your organisation. Andrea, do you want to tell me what you were looking for that? Just need to unmute first. I think, yeah. Andrea, if you want to do a separate group page, I'm wondering if
okay, I tried to set up a Facebook page for our organisation, Bexhill Lions,
yes.
And I had confirmation it was set up, and then the next day it was taken down, and so was my personal Facebook account. So I wondered if I was, if I was going about it the right way, or if I should have set up a group.
No, not necessarily. That sounds like Facebook, they can be really zealous about some things, and for the life of me I can't think what they were being zealous about with that. But they took down your personal profile as well?
Yes.
Oh my word.
So I've asked for a review.
Have you? When did you ask for that, and have you heard anything?
No, that was just this morning.
Oh right. Gosh, I'm just trying to think. If it's just Bexhill Lions, I'd be surprised, but things. So who knows? It could even just be that it's in Sussex, couldn't it, really?
So is a separate Facebook account okay? Because
Yeah,
it's still linked to me.
Yeah, it always has to. Yeah, it always has to be linked to you.
Yeah.
So it would always be your personal page, and then there would be Facebook pages, your own personal profile, and then Facebook pages. So they always have to be attached to one, and it has to not look like a dummy page, because sometimes people, they don't want a page connected to their own personal profile, so they'll set up like a dummy one. But Facebook are onto that, and they want it to be an active page. But I think when you get your review back, and we can have a look at it, and maybe, you know, a few of us can have a look and set it up and see if it's not put you off already.
No, it won't put me off.
No. Well, well done for trying, and well done for getting a review on it as well, because that can be difficult. So, Layla, that your question about what works better, a Facebook page or a Facebook group, and what's the difference? A Facebook, I say it's like the eternal question, and I still can't answer it fully, because it really depends. And I say it's what you want to do. So I say that if you want, say, especially if you've got, well, not minors, because they'd have to be over 12, wouldn't they, but a group of people who want to chat and stay engaged, and you want them to chat and stay engaged, or you want to charge a subscription for a group, but sort of a small group, then I would say that a Facebook group page would be best. But a Facebook business page would be best if you want to reach out to more people and sort of raise awareness of your organisation or what you want to promote. And that there's difference in the functionality and everything on them, but it is changing all the time. You can't advertise if you do paid ads if you have a group, but you can if you've got a page. And I've got a feeling groups still don't have any analytics, so you can't actually see what you do. But if you want to have a small group of people and they want to keep in touch and feel confident that what they say isn't going to go beyond the group, and to share news, and especially, I don't know, if you've got, say, a group of parents of a children's sports group, then I think, you know, a group would generally be best. And Sunita, you said that, yeah, more stall people use Facebook. There seems to be a lot of them on Twitter too, I think. But no, you're right. I think it really, again, it goes back to that old question of what do you want to achieve. If you want to build relationships with people, then Twitter's brilliant. But if you want to promote, especially if you want to, Twitter's brilliant if you want to build relationships with people that you wouldn't normally get a chance to, then it's perfect. But if you want to promote your club and engage people, then because 60% of the UK are on Facebook, then that's going to be your best one. Oh, Heidi. Oh, that's a really good question. I love it. So Heidi's asking, how can you get people to move from interest in your event to going, and how often should you post in the event? I would say that how many people are interested in your event is just an indication of how popular it's likely to be. And it's really frustrating because you get loads of people saying interested, but then they don't actually go. And then your second part kind of answered it really, that events are still really good because they feed out to a lot of people in the local area who are interested in that thing. And I post quite regularly in events because that still goes out to the people that are interested. So that would be your best chance of getting them from interested to going. But I would say the fact that they've said they're interested is good enough, because they will still get every post that you pop in the event. So I probably post it. It depends on the event, and probably early on, maybe just once a week. But coming up the few days before the event, gosh, you could post loads if you wanted, and just post things about, you know, setting up and what's going on. So Heidi, that's a really good question. Thank you. Oh, Heather, oh gosh, these are So many good questions. You'll have to excuse me, my scroll doesn't work as well, so I miss you out. It's not because I don't want to answer your question, it's just that my scrolling button doesn't always work. So Heather, do you think different ages use different media, or is it that Facebook has had its day and now it's over to Twitter and Instagram? I would say that different ages definitely use different media, and that goes back really to looking at what you want to achieve and who you're talking to. So we know that teenagers aren't on Facebook really, because like their nanas comment on their posts, don't they? So they don't like it, so they won't be on there. And if you want to talk to teenagers, then I would be on Instagram every day of the week. Twitter, if you want to engage with organisations and business and influencers, can be really good, and also obviously it's good for up-to-date news. But I would say that would be good for broadly engaging with organisations, and if that's what you want to do, then it's good. And in fact, Georgia, you said that, didn't you? Twitter is good for summarised it brilliantly. Twitter is good for engaging schools and making connections more professionally rather than just friends and family. And yeah, my experience, it's used by people over, is that 30? I can't see because I've got them there, but yeah, Georgia, you've summarised it brilliantly. And Instagram, definitely. I did a talk on social media to a group of business women. Well, I felt so old when I got there. They were all under 30, and I thought I feel like they've got their mum talking to them. But when I said about social media to them, they only had one social media platform in mind. Facebook, Twitter, anything else didn't exist. The only platform that they considered relevant was Instagram, and that's all they talked about. So if you're appealing, generally Instagram is slightly more women than men, but I still get good results on it. But if you're appealing to women under 35, then Instagram is the only platform, is one platform that you really should be on. You couldn't do social media without being on that platform, but for a younger audience it would definitely have to be Instagram. So it goes back, doesn't it, to sort of, it's all around knowing your audience and what you want to say and what you want to do. Where's Georgie? Because I really like that comment. Thank you. Can't see you, not on my screen, but thank you very much. That was really good. Jamie, is there a good way to get people to participate in an activity which people haven't heard about? Jamie, I think I know what you mean, but are you able to explain in your words as well, rather than just writing down, because that's harder?
So basically, I do calisthenics, which is bodyweight exercise.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone's, like, a lot of people haven't heard of it, and like some of the moves and stuff you do are quite difficult. But then it's just kind of, do you do like something which is complicated, or are you like just doing, like, say something more basic with a pull-up to kind of promote the business, or like just a little bit difficult, if you see where I'm going?
Yeah, I do, and I completely see what you mean, Jamie. Yeah, I would.
Anyone can do it, but it's hard to kind of say, you know, anyone can do it.
I think definitely demonstrations would be perfect. And does it? I suppose it depends which. Do you have different levels of classes on different days? Would you normally?
Well, I haven't started yet, but it's something I'd like to kind of think about doing over the next year.
Yeah, so I would probably then would tailor the post to different people. So I guess you'd have a beginner's entrance class, and then it would be very much easy posts, and maybe just more basic as well, in terms of if they don't know what it is, then this is what you would be doing in your first session, but actually this is what you need to wear, this is what you need to bring. So take it really back to basics if people haven't heard of it, so they feel like they know you and they know what's going to happen on the day when they turn up. Does that make sense? Yeah,
it makes sense. It's just whether or not to kind of, because I suppose you want to kind of get out there, like the what they can do, and then like a bit of both, maybe. I'm not sure.
I think definitely a mixture, and maybe show different people doing it as well, so it's not just you.
Yeah.
And you can also do lots, can't you? So you could highlight somebody say who's become really good at it, but actually 6 months ago they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, sure.
They show lots of journeys and
pictures as such, but
yeah, and you can also do social proof, which is crucial. So social proof is where people people believe people listen to their friends and family first when they're deciding to do something, but after that they believe what they read, or they take advice from social media.
okay.
So if you've got someone who's got in a class, or someone that, well, probably, you know, as when you're starting, someone who you've worked with, if they could just either record a video, if they weren't happy with that, just write a few lines about the fact that it was easier than they thought. They'd never heard of it, but actually it was brilliant fun and it's the best thing they've ever done. You can pop that up on your Facebook page as well. So there's lots of ways of
like a quote as such.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'd have a look at what other social media producers do as well, and get some ideas from them. But definitely you can introduce people to that. Heidi, that's a really big one. I don't use hashtags on Facebook, in brief, because it encourages people to leave the page. But what I do is do @mention, and I tag as much as possible in context. But we can look at that another time, if that's all right. And Anita, I would say no, quite honestly. If you need to boost something a little bit and it's a really small area, I would say yes. But to me, promoted and boosted posts are the equivalent of donuts on the end of a supermarket aisle. It's an impulse purchase, and then when you get home, you think, well, that was a waste of money, really. So I would say if it's calculated, do it, but do it a little bit, and only if you're wanting to get an actual result from something and it's in a really small area. Just have to see. Ian, I don't know, to be honest. I don't deal a lot with groups, to be honest. I've got a feeling that you can't change it back and forth, but unless somebody else knows better than me, but I can research that and find out. And Anita, you said about different posts on different platforms. I would say that you can share a similar sort of post on different platforms, but what I do is I change the wording to bear in mind the different audience. And on Instagram, I use loads of hashtags. On Twitter, I use a couple of hashtags, and on Facebook, I use none. But I'm always mindful as well that it's a different audience. So on Instagram, it could well be, but not exclusively, younger. So I'll probably use a lot more emojis and change the language slightly. On Facebook, still some emojis, but not lots. And maybe still a fun language. But on Twitter, obviously, you've got to cram it into 280 characters. So I don't share the same post across everything. Just thank you for your comment. I'm not going to do about boosts and lives, just because we don't want to go too much on advertising. Competitions, yes, love a good competition on Facebook. You can do really well on that, Heidi. Just I would Google or drop me an email for competition rules. Because it's really important that you put those on, so you can do them. Yeah, Jazz, totally. I use 30 on every single post. And I think that's going to be all that we can do now, because we're out of time. But thank you so much for all your comments and interest, and it's been fascinating, and I feel like you've been able to share knowledge between you as well with questions. So thank you very much. You will get an email, so love it if you could feedback, because that will help us with next week's Instagram, and also whether we do some, you know, so that we can do some small groups as well. So I'm Caroline. Follow me on I'm Grow with Blossom on most platforms, and follow me, and you can always drop me an email, caroline@growwithblossom.co.uk, or send me a direct message on any of my platforms, and I'll be happy to help as well. So it's really good to meet you. Thank you very much all. Thank you. Bye.